Alright, time for a YouTube video. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, you stinkies. It's almost the end of 2020, what year is it? 2021. Wow, time moves fast. So what better time to do a slight tier list of Genshin Impact after some horrendous tier list just appeared on my feed. I might as well do some character more justice at this point. You know what I'm talking about, right? So let's just move on. This tier list will go from S to D, and then left to right, yeah? The further left, the better. The further right, the worse. Does that make sense? So, in my humble opinion, the character that requires the least resource as the very first character you built on your account for DPS would be Ganyu. If it's your very first character on your account and you have no one else, it would be Ganyu. But if you're around mid-game and you have a proper team build, then Ayaka would be better than Ganyu in DPS. With a bit more resource, Ayaka would be better than Ganyu in terms of DPS. But if it's your very first character, very first DPS, then Ganyu can do like 80% of her work without needing much team comp building or anything. Whereas Ayaka need a little bit of team around her, but when you get everything set up, she has so much burst damage and consistent damage that she just is better than Ganyu. I think I need to add one more. For SS tier, I think it's pretty simple that this dude is here. He just works on so many teams. On top of his attack buff, he also has very high base healing and is still the fastest energy recharge character in the game if he's on the field itself. So everyone knows how strong Bennett is, yeah? Next will be Xingqiu. The reason why I put these two characters here is because you don't really have to pull for them. You can get from this rotating store right here. If you really care about performance, you can always grab them from this shop. They fulfill so much jobs, I guess. Bennett can be the attack buff for healer energy recharge. Xingqiu can be... well, Xingqiu is mostly for the damage, but he works on freeze team, electro charge team, melt teams, and everything, yeah? I will put Zhongli here. I don't think Zhongli would ever be on SS tier. The main reason is this. People have this weird fantasy about Zhongli solving all their problems. But realistically, most players' best Zhongli build would be Zhongli on triple health. Damage Zhongli is simply not worth it unless you have like Constellation 2 or a Staff of Homa or both, right? Otherwise, your damage would be so non-significant. Most times, if you press Zhongli Elemental Burst, you're actually losing damage from your team. You kinda just use Zhongli as like a comfort pick because his barrier can make you face roll over a lot of content, but you don't necessarily need him. He just makes stuff easier, but not necessarily faster. And since most of Genshin Impact content all have a timer on it, Zhongli is a great pick if you already have enough damage. Would there be any other character I slap on S? These. Kazuha, very spammable elemental skill, CC at the center where you can control. Damage buff for your team is a lot, as well as building full elemental mastery and very distant set. Similar with Venti, where they can use very distant set as well to reduce enemy elemental resistance. Venti does recover more energy for your team because of his passive. You regenerate 15 energy to the teammate, which has the element that the tornado has. It's a lot of free energy. Venti isn't as good as he once was since the start of the game. Kazuha, I'd say, kinda take the spot now because Kazuha damage buff capabilities is much nicer. We have more and more enemy that are more crowd control resistance, right? Heavier enemy like rune guards and stuff. But it doesn't deny the fact that Venti can still hit one button and invalidates a good amount of in-game content. Does that make sense? And he's also the cheapest character in the game to build. You can go to the VV set, put a 4-star very distant set on him. You don't even have to upgrade it. You don't even have to worry about what main stat you're using on Venti. It doesn't matter which weapon you're using on Venti. You can use him on a 1-star weapon if you really want. As long as you have the very distant set effect bonus where it reduces resistance, that's all you need. You don't even have to level his talents. Maybe get him a higher level because you can only crowd control enemies that are at most 20 levels above you. so maybe leveling him up is fine. Other than that, building full elemental mastery on Venti would also add quite a bit of damage to your team, yes. The top of A tier, I would put Hu Tao. The main reason being, Hu Tao is one of the few characters that doesn't need Bennett. So you can use Bennett on one team and Hu Tao on the other. And that would be my justification for Hu Tao. She needs Xing Qiu though, yeah, but Xing Qiu doesn't necessarily need to go with Bennett. Let me look at the other DPS first and make up my mind. Because I know there's a few very big beginner's bait character that have high base damage but low scaling, right? I'm tempted because recently it's this discussion, right? Between these two. I tested Ito at C0 and an Ito at C6, but I don't have a C6 Zhao, so my Zhao's only C0. With the recent Abyss clear, I cleared with a 4-star weapon Zhao C0, a level 18 Sucrose, a Fischl, and a Diano, right? So it was mostly Zhao raw damage with like twirling tails from Sucrose, right? And for Ito, if you really think about it, Ito is very expensive to build. On average, Ito will probably do like 13-14k damage on the charge attack. And the last hit at most does 40k damage if you're on like 4-star weapon or a refinement 1 5-star weapon, right? 40k damage and last hit of the charge attack. Zhao can consistently plunge for like 30k to 35k. Ito, yeah, I mean Ito is Geo. He's tied to specific teams. And the main fact that I want to put Zhao higher, Zhao is competing in DPS with a lot of this powerful DPS character in the game, but he doesn't have his own artifact set. He doesn't have specifically made support to buff Elemental, maybe aside from like Gene Constellation 4, right? And he's competing, right? Ito has his own 5-star weapon that gives him a lot more stat than Primordial Jade Spear, his own artifact set, Goro, Zhongli's Elemental Geo Resistance, Geo Resonance. Zhao is doing as much damage as Ito with like a garbage resonance on the Nemo, no good 4-star support except maybe Sucrose TTDS, which is kind of copium, right? And without his own artifact set. I would put him above Ito just because deep down, I believe one day MiHoYo will release a dumb set for Zhao. Like when you hit an enemy with a plunge attack, you ignore 20% of their defense or something. I don't know. Something like that would make Zhao like above Hu Tao or almost S tier, I'd say. Who else? Ah yes, these two would be next. These two are the 4-star character that does a ridiculous amount of AoE damage. Their damage numbers on multiple enemies is insanely high. Problem is, I really wouldn't say any of them is cheap to build. I know it's like you can compare a C6 or a C4 4-star character to a C0 5-star character, but I'll be honest here, okay? Have you ever tried sniping for a specific 4-star on a banner? Like if you have, you know how elusive 4-star character can be. They need constellation, right? Certain constellation just unlocks their potential a lot, right? Just because of that fact, I would still say I don't think they're easy to build. They require a lot of resource to shine. Well, not as much as some other character later, but they still require a good chunk of investment, team comms to function. They both suffer from energy recharge problem, Xiangling mainly requiring Bennett attack buff to snapshot and energy recharge, Beidou mainly needing any other electro to help her get her energy back because of the inconsistency of her E, right? So these two I would put around here. Who else would deserve A tier? Does she deserve A tier? I think she does. I think these two can be here. Raiden, I'd say mainly you use as like a burst support where you hit E on Raiden to increase your team's elemental burst damage by 30%, right? At level 9 talent, which is like quite the amount of damage increase, yeah? And her elemental burst does decent damage at C0, but mainly you use it for the little burst and then the energy recovery for your team, right? She can battery most characters in the game, provide a buff that lasts forever. Her damage output doesn't really unlock to become like obnoxious until Constellation 2, but at C0, she does a good raw damage number, yeah? She's cool. And Sucrose is here because Veridicent set Crowd control, Twirling Tails, right? Once again, C6 Sucrose with Twirling Tails could buff more than the Kazuha C0. But listen, I'm not a theory crafter. I don't value Sucrose as much. I think she's very clunky to play, man. Her animation is so, you know, I just want easy execution, man, not a PhD. Okay, I'm joking, whatever. Diano has healing, barrier, increased movement speed, reduced stamina consumption, and energy recharge. I think this perfectly captures what Diano does. It's just a lot of utility. Maybe Noblesse set as well for the attack buff there. Her barrier isn't as strong as Zhongli. Her healing isn't as fast as like Chi-Chi. But the fact that she has like all utility in one slot, it's nicer. And then Jean, well, once again, very distant set. I feel like all a Nemo character is just because of very distant set, right? Healing, cleanse as well, could be cool. Diano can cleanse, but mostly herself, right? Now this is where I think most characters are gonna be, right? These character really stands out above others, but the B tier and below they're all viable. They just require quite a bit of resource, right? So I think the character I would put at the top of B tier, the physical damage child of this game. The one that hits for 5 million damage if you spend $5,000. Okay, so this is how it feels, right? When you just pull Yola, she feels like she does a lot of damage. And then you hit mid-game and you're like, okay, she still does a lot of damage. And you hit late game, you're like, wait, where did my damage go? It's mostly because of this, right? Her base damage number is very high, but there's not a lot of ways to scale that damage number up. Her constellation or weapon matters so much. I think like a standard Yola at like very good performance free-to-play 4-star weapon would hit for like 300k, right? Without trying to scam your damage or something. 300k reliable damage if you can land the hits. The main reason I'm not putting Yola A tier is because of the newer enemies in the game. You know what they are. We all know what they are. MiHoYo decided to put specters and then, I don't know, what are they again? Wolves of the Rifts in the game. I promise you, these dude hitbox are it's like a noodle or something. You cannot hit them. Okay, let me see. Albedo with the recent new weapon allows him to hit like a consistent 30k damage with Geo Resonance every 2 seconds, right? But you can't get the weapon anymore. Unless every time Albedo rerun, they rerun this weapon for him. I wouldn't put Albedo higher than B. It's a very good weapon design that works specifically for a character. I think I like it. I like MiHoYo doing weapons like this. And especially making them free, right? It's a lot nicer. It makes some character suddenly viable again to the people that have the, I guess, puzzle pieces for them, yeah? I think I'm getting to the point where I've already pissed off enough people and I can see the comment section writing like a paragraph telling me why that their character deserves to be higher or my opinion is shit, but hear me out, right? If you disagree with my opinion, you are simply wrong. Now, if we're talking about playing for waifu, I'm pretty sure I'm the one that plays for waifu the most. Jinyan Triple Crown, Lisa Triple Crown, Beidou Triple Crown, Sarah Triple Crown. You know, listen, right? This is how you play the f***ing game. You crown the ones that deserve the crown. Tartak should be here. Tartak has decent ER, I think, and Electro Charge team, right? Decent burst damage as well. Very spam clicky attacks, yeah? Tartak doesn't need to do damage to enable Zhangling to vaporize. That is true. Tartak doesn't need to do damage, but he can. So in terms of investment, he is nicer. I think this. In terms of like how much investment you need to get how much results out of the character, right? I think Tartak could be in a good spot. Actually, no, Tartak is in a good spot. He works well with Zhangling Beidou. True, he does work very well with Zhangling Beidou. Even if he doesn't do damage, he just amplifies Zhangling Beidou. Fischl, very single target focus, good energy recharge for Beidou. But I would put Fischl a little bit higher just because Fischl. She does require quite a bit of constellation, but her damage is very machine gunny. And her energy recharge is reliable enough that she can help your teammates to a certain degree. Lumine and Aether. Geo Traveler, I think is the go-to, right? The 12% crit rate buff, Geo Resonance, very quick Geo Energy is what I'm thinking here. Lumine over Aether? Okay, whatever, man. I feel like everyone else is here, no? I mean, Goro is good for Geo team. So Goro is Goro. So most Geo I would put there. Noelle eats so much resource, and most of the time she's a detriment to your team, right? Because of her negative energy, yeah? Mingguang has good Geo energy and good raw damage. This is where I want to put most of the other DPS character at, right? I think this is where they would be. I almost forgot, but I will put this here. Rosaria! Crit rate, super short cooldown, high energy recharge. Off field damage. Easy to build even. If you just run Favonius Land, just rush crit rate, don't care about damage. You just buff crit rate for your team and regenerate a lot of energy for your team, yeah? Kinda wanna put Kaya around here, you know, like... Because he only offers damage. He does more damage than Rosaria, but it's mostly single target, right? He has to be like next to the enemy, like hugging their asses, sniffing their breath. He has the same energy recharge with Rosaria. Chongyun. Chongyun is mostly used for the Constellation 2 and the cryo to your autos, right? Chongyun used to be in like A? I'd say Chongyun used to be in like A. I feel like I'm comfortable putting everyone else here. Razor does reliable damage, but you'll hit the limit of his damage early. Sayu is an Anemo character, so very distant set is her selling point. The healing and the E is just simply worse than Jean. Her E energy recovery is very bad. She's mostly used for traversing the map. Chi-Chi. I would put Chi-Chi higher, you know? Because of the new artifact set. Chi-Chi can do 30k damage every 3.5 seconds now. So 30k damage is the cap, right? Well, maybe 40k with superconduct and stuff, right? And maybe Rosaria C6 or something, whatever, right? You can do around 30k damage average every 3.5 seconds because Chi-Chi is the fastest healer in the game. Like, hands down, right? You don't even have to build that much stats on her. Just get energy recharge, attack healing bonus, right? You should easily be able to hit the healing cap on Chi-Chi all the time. You don't care about crit rate or anything, just energy recharge and just main stat, right? Okay, you know, people are gonna be angry, but I'll put Chi-Chi up here. Chi-Chi good. Kokomi, same thing, can be used with the new set. Her team comp is a bit too dank though. Kokomi, Fischl, Zhangling, Sucrose. That takes a lot of character. That's a lot of character. She takes like all the good ones. I wouldn't try to make people pull for Kokomi though, so I'll put that there. Actually, I kind of want to put Keqing down on B. There. Barbara can't really use the new artifact set. Noelle, she eats so much resource, I'm actually concerned. Thoma, his barrier is better than Diano, but that's all he has really. Thoma, Hu Tao, Sucrose, Xingqiu does work because Thoma can apply Pyro for Hu Tao for the damage buff from Sucrose. So that is okay, and in that specific team, he works fine, but generally, he just has less utility than Diano. Yanfei, she's just a damage character. You can do the full HP build for barrier, and I think her barrier is better than Thoma if you build triple HP. Damage-wise, meh. Sarah works specifically with Raiden alone, requires Constellation to really shine, has slight energy problem without Raiden as well, so very specific and niche characters to play Raiden main DPS. Lisa, the cast time mechanic, most players don't like about her because you're standing still for like 3 seconds and you can still get attacked during that time. Her damage is fine. You can meme and cheese her damage by going full buffing and hitting for like 100k, 200k, but it's very memey. The main reason you use Lisa would be like level Lisa to level 60, get the reduced 15% defense, slap her on like Curling Tales of Dragon Slayer, and that would be how you use Lisa most of the time. And yeah, the rest is Jinyan, Amber, Alloy, right? They just don't do much. Jinyan probably eats more resource than even Noelle. Aloy has decent energy recharge with Sacrificial, but nothing really stands out about her. Amber is Amber. She's just cute. It's fine. She's just the most wholesome character in the game. Every time she shows up in the story, she's just the nicest person ever. But that's that right now. I think that would be quite simply the end of this current tier list, but so that's a little ending. I hope you enjoyed the little thing, you know. If you disagree with anything in the tier list, you know, feel free to fight each other in the comments. Actually, don't. You know, we're nice people here, right? We're civilized, we're refined. We will disagree and bring up nice criticism, per se, right? Rather than calling names and going your mother and looking for like slight spelling mistakes. Yeah, chat? Alright, that would be the little content for the YouTube frogs this Christmas. I hope I didn't mold you too much. But hey, that'll be all. I'll see you guys next time. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And Happy New Year's as well, yeah? Bye bye, YouTube.